Yahoo says it's carefully reviewing the decision. Yahoo goes on to say, quote, since our founding almost 20 years ago, we've supported an open and free internet, not one shaded by censorship. They plan to assess the impact of the ruling on its business and on users. Joining us now to dig deeper is Sam Volkering. He's the editor of Sam Volkering's Tech Insider. Sam, we welcome you back to America's Forum.
It's nice to be with you again.
And Sam, as you Skype in, taking advantage of technology, in regards to this ruling in Europe, do you look at this as censorship or a way for a person to protect his or her privacy rights?
This is a massive breach of freedom of speech. There's no other way about it. The courts have simply got this wrong. I can't make that any clearer. They have basically come out and said that the internet is now not free. So if you want to say something, you can be censored. It is censorship and a complete hammering down of freedom of speech. I've never been so disappointed with an outcome from a judicial system in my entire life. It's just opened a huge can of worms, and the whole thing's just completely backwards and a really anarchic way of looking at things, and it's really disappointing. When Google said they're disappointed, that's one of the biggest understatements you will hear this year. I have no doubt about it.
Well, Sam, let's take a look at this, because we know with rights come responsibilities, and in the United States, in our constitutional republic, we take a look at our First Amendment rights of freedom of speech, but coupled with that are responsibilities. The famous illustration being that you may have freedom of speech, but that liberty does not give you the license to shout fire in a crowded theater when no fire exists. So
Correct.
With that in mind, there is a legitimate concern, is there not, on the part especially of private individuals to make sure that what is available on the internet at least has some veracity? Or let me just put it to you personally. You're in a competitive business. I would imagine that were we to do a social media search or use these search engines, not everything that would come back on Sam Volkering would be accurate. But do you believe that internet freedom goes through to those on the internet putting out lies that can be maximized or enhanced on search engines to give people false ideas about you or what it is you do?
Yeah, look, I think there's a sort of the bigger issue at play here is that the world we live in today is very much based on a reputational system. So what I mean by that is that, like you said before, there's going to be things written about me online personally, and not all of it's going to be true. So there's an element where, you can't go on, you can't make up falsehoods, and you can't slander, and you can't say things that legitimately are not true. But you have a right to an opinion. So if you don't like what I'm saying now, by all means, comment and have an opinion about it. Don't make things up, but have an opinion if it's based on truths. Now, in this reputation world that we live in, I do enough good things, or at least I hope I do enough good things, that they will far and away outweigh any negative comment that might exist online. And so in this reputation world that we live in an online system, if you do good by your fellow human, by your fellow man, and you say the right thing, you act in the right way, then you will get enough positive outcomes and enough positive reviews or ratings or whatever it is to quash all the bad things. But if you've done wrong by the world, if you're a criminal, a crook, or a thief, and that appears online and it's true, then doesn't the public have a right to know that that exists and what you've done in the past?
I hear exactly what you're saying, but there's another aspect to this, and perhaps you can take me through it again in layman's terms and help me understand. There are certain firms that utilize search engine enhancement to help you prioritize good things about yourself. Now, I don't know if it's still working that way or the different search engines have been able to eliminate that, but is that still very much of the marketing process, whether in Europe or in the Americas or in Australia?
Yeah, look, I think globally, the whole concept of optimizing a search on yourself is a very big marketing ploy that lots of money, billions get spent on search engine optimization is what it's called, or SEO. But that doesn't necessarily mean if there's a whole bunch of negative press about you that good press is going to all of a sudden outweigh that. The way it kind of works is if there's a big pool of things over here and they might be negative things, and there's a tiny pool of good things over here, then that bigger pool is always going to rank higher when you look through a search engine, because there's just more of it. There's more links to it. There's more links to links to links of it. So that's what these search engines are primarily driven on. And that's what sort of Google really does, is that they're not publishing bad information about people. They're just helping to organize the internet. I heard someone say that it's like going to a library and then getting rid of all the books about Nazis and murderers. It's just a way that we categorize and catalog the internet is what Google's doing. So they've made a completely wrong decision here, the ECJ.
All right, Sam, we'll take that under advisement. Let's go to another topic, the emergence of Bitcoin. Bitcoin, we've talked about before, a virtual currency that allows direct transfer of funds between parties without the need for a third party. For example, a person or a merchant can send money directly to somebody without the need for a PayPal or Visa. Bitcoin was launched back in 2009. An increasing number of businesses started accepting it as payment, but here in the United States, the Security and Exchange Commission issued an advisory warning people and investors to be wary of any virtual currency, including Bitcoin. You see the advisory here. A new product, technology, or innovation such as Bitcoin has the potential to give rise to both frauds and high-risk investment opportunities. Potential investors can easily be enticed with the promise of high returns in new investment space, and also may be less skeptical when assessing something novel, new, and cutting edge. Now, we have seen the vicissitudes of this new form of currency. Does Bitcoin hang around? What's the next manifestation of this kind of internet currency?
Yeah, so Bitcoin in itself is more than just a currency. It's an entire system. It's the payments, it's the processing, it's the transaction, it's the anonymity of it, but it also kind of acts in the function of I can use it to go and pay for something, typically online, that will physically then be sent to me. So Bitcoin in itself is very different to anything we've ever had before, and a lot of people try and categorize it into a currency or an investment or a commodity or whatever it might be, but it's none of those and all of those at the same time, just to confuse everyone.
Well, there's one thing that maybe can clarify it some, Sam, at least in terms of successful folks. You have Richard Branson of Virgin Group and Yahoo co-founder Jerry Yang investing $30 million into BitPay.
Yes.
Now, is that a good investment?
So what BitPay do is they're part of the infrastructure of Bitcoin. So they help process payments for merchants. So think of it like this. If I'm running an online store and you want to buy something from my store using Bitcoins, it's BitPay that helped that transaction happen. So when I get your Bitcoins and I exchange the goods, the price of Bitcoin might fluctuate by 20% within the next 5 minutes. But BitPay helped to lock in the price of Bitcoin at the time of purchase. So it's things like that, this system that I refer to, that BitPay is so vital to. And that's why Branson and Yang have really got in on this, is because you need the infrastructure and system to legitimize Bitcoin. And when you've got names like Branson and Yang on board as well, it really helps to make Bitcoin a legitimate option. I liken it to a parallel economic system online.
And we'll have to leave it right there, Sam. We appreciate you adding your 2 bits, so to speak, to the discussion. Always good to have you on via Skype. Sam Volkering, thanks for explaining the ins and outs of the internet and the new internet exchange. We look forward to having you back again real soon.
Thanks again. I look forward to coming back.
And there is more straight ahead. Don't go away. We'll see you in a second.